Welcome to the Python video tutorial on basic data structures in Python with Numpy. So we're going to actually do some things that are actually useful and skills that you can actually use on a job. Not that the other ones you couldn't use on a job. It's just these are what most people in data science or in statistical computing are going to use. Okay, so the first thing we're going to have to do is use Numpy. So we're going to use this import statement. So we're going to import Numpy, and here I'm going to put as NP. Okay, and then I'm going to put some comments on here so that we can actually keep track of things. So Numpy is the basically toolbox that has all sorts of numerical tools in it. So is a numerical tools package. And so it allows us to have numerical tools that we can actually use. If you remember when we did addition before, it was concatenation. And while that's useful, it's not as useful as being actually able to add things together. So the reason I use this NP, so NP is an alias. And you don't have to name it this for Numpy. And the reason you want to use an alias, it will become obvious here in just a second. And if it's not obvious, I'm going to point it out anyway. So the very first thing is if we did something like x1, let's see, is an array. And this is not in Numpy. So it's an array, and we do 1, 2, 3, and so on. And we had x2. I'm just doing this as review from last time. 4, 5, and 6. And then if I did x1 plus x2, if you remember, I can just run this little bit here with my little button up here that'll run that bit. And notice it just concatenated them together. It didn't add things together. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use this Numpy. Okay, and we're going to generate some other arrays and see how they behave. So this just ran everything again. And notice it says import NumPy as NP. We have variable explorer over here. So let's create Y1. Okay, and this is going to be NP. And I'm going to put NP because it's my alias. And then I hit dot. And then what I can do is array. So I'm going to use an NP array. Okay, and it pops up and tells me what I need to put in there. So I'm going to actually put in an array here that's exactly the same as what we had before. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. That's all. Now I'm going to do Y2. NP.array. And it is going to be 4, 5, and 6. So I'm going to run these two, and we're going to see what pops out. Now, the reason I have to put this dot in here is because it's telling inside the NumPy, or what I've named as NP, package, go get this particular function, which is the array function. Okay, so that's why there's a dot. It's saying within NumPy, get array. They're going to use some other packages later, like SciPy, which has more sciencey things, and there'll be dots in it as well, and it helps Python navigate through packages easier and quicker. So I'm going to run this little bit here, and notice it ran over here. If I go to my variable explorer, notice I get something different. The type is different, and it also has a size that is 3 comma. Okay, now let's just do what we did before, which was y1 plus y2, right? We added them before. Let's see what happens when we add these two things together, because addition is an operator. Now, this is actually what we thought we were going to get from before, right? We thought we were going to get 4 plus 1, 2 plus 5, 3 plus 6, and we were going to get 5, 7, and 9. So this is actually what we would normally think of as vectors or arrays that actually add element-wise. And this is useful. And we can also play with it, and we can just do y1 times 5, and we can do, let's do x1 times 5. And let's just see the difference. Even though they're the exact same numbers in them, if I do y1 times 5, you can see it actually did 5, 10, 15, which is what we would expect. But if I do x1 times 5, which is not an Numpy array, it just repeats the vector 5 times. So it's repeating. So it's a type of multiplication, but it's not the type of multiplication that we actually want, which is the arithmetic multiplication. Okay, so the key here is we're using NumPy array, or Okay, so NP Array, and let me put a dot here, calls NumPy and looks for its array function. So in different packages, there can be array functions. So this is what this is doing. It's looking for that specific array function. And using this, I could do this as well and type the whole word NumPy if I wanted to. But NP is short for that for me, so it's easy for me to navigate. And you don't have to do that, but you'll see me do that. And when I do SciPy, it'll be SC. And if you look across the internet, you'll see this as well. The great thing about NumPy is it allows us to do all sorts of things that we didn't think we could do. Okay, so for example, we could do np.exp. So if you've done any exponentiation and we're using the natural logarithm, the anti-log of it, we can do y1, and this thing will give us what we think it should give us. Whereas if I use it on just the original array, just type exp x1, let's see what it gives. Doesn't know what exp is. So by itself, Python doesn't know what exp is, but NumPy does, and that's why we want to use NumPy. We can also read data into NumPy, and we can use other packages to read in data, but it's pretty easy to read in data into NumPy. But we have these arrays that we can deal with, which means now we can deal with individual numbers, and we can add numbers together. We can divide numbers and everything. But now we can start dealing with vectors, and we can put them in arrays. And what's interesting is when we play with these arrays, we can get different bits of information. So I could do y1 dot, and notice a thing pops up here. When you hit the dot, often a little tooltip pops up. I want to know the size of it. Okay, so I'm just going to hit size. And if I run this, let's see what this does. If I can get it all highlighted, it tells me that it's 3. It tells me that's the size of it. I can do this with y1 or y2. And if I hit dot, a whole bunch of things come up. I can get the maximum. I can get all sorts of things. I can choose. I can clip. I can copy. I can compress. I can cumulative sum it. I can cumulative product it. I can do all sorts of things to this just using the dot. Like I can hit max, and it will give me the maximum value. I can hit mean, and it will give me the mean value. So all of these functions are built into NP, but they come along, these properties come along to the NumPy arrays. Okay, so it gives us a really strong foundation for programming because, number one, Spider is awesome in the sense that these things pop up, and I'm sure there's other editors that do this as well. But once I hit that dot, I can just look for whatever I'm interested in, and I can get all kinds of information out of this, and it comes with just all of these properties that I can immediately pull off. So I'm going to, just for fun, do mean. Okay, because I could look at it, and then I could do y2 mean, and if I run this, it says function nd array mean. So it didn't actually give me the actual mean in calculation because it turned it into a function for me that will calculate the array mean anytime I want it. All right, this is probably a good place to stop. So what we're going to do next is read in some data in. Or repeating myself there. We're going to read data into Python using NumPy so that we can start working with data from a file. And we're going to need to learn how to play with it and get used to it. Now, there's going to be several ways to deal with data, and we're going to first start with NumPy, and then we'll probably move to pandas and other things. But right now, let's just play with NumPy and get used to it so we can learn a variety of skills that are going to be useful. All right, see you in the next video.